So refreshing to be back. There it is. Wow.
There you go.
Got people flying in. Whew. Old Gilbert's in there. Hey, hey. What's happening? Corey, Alan, we got them rolling in. What you been doing?
You know, not much. We're just, we're settling into the summer here in Florida.
Yep.
It's getting hot outside.
I almost got carried away by love bugs outside.
I think it's maybe the worst year so far.
Probably the worst. I can thank my alma mater, University of Florida, for that. Good job on the love bugs, guys.
Gone wrong.
Come on. Whoa. So yeah, and you've been doing a little golf, right?
Yeah, I've been doing quite a bit of golf. We
Playing-
both have, actually.
Yeah. We've been taking some of your money. No.
Occasionally.
We don't do
my
that.
team.
Yeah. I usually pick him because we're perfect. Awesome. All right, we got everybody filtering in here. I think we got everything. We got Nikki Mintz behind the scenes, Jay Bird, of course, on the ones and twos back there, and the rest of the crew filtering everything that we kind of say, throwing in links. So definitely ask those questions. And of course, like, share. We're doing some giveaways. And what are we going to talk about tonight?
We're going to be talking about travel rods. We're going to be talking about, as we get into the summer, of course, Florida is already there. But some other states, especially up north, not quite there yet. But school's going to be out soon. Planning your family vacations. So we're going to be talking about, we're going to make three stops.
3 stops.
On your summer vacation. So first we're going to do,
Perfect.
we're going to do tropical. We're going to go to the Caribbean,
Have to.
Mexico, Belize, Bahamas.
Bikini season.
We're going to talk about, pretty much what rods you would use there.
Yep.
And we're going to have a demo for each one of these, destinations. So we got Caribbeans.
Yep.
Second stop is going to be Carolinas.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep.
And third stop is going to be, we're going to take it up to the Northeast. Maybe New York, upstate New York for a vacation. Maybe a lake house up there.
Get out of the heat.
Yeah.
Get out of the heat. I think you're going on vacation soon, aren't you?
We are.
Should I say that? I don't know.
Yeah, you can say that.
Okay. Cool. I didn't know if it was a surprise or something like that.
No, it's not.
So we'll have to go ahead and we'll put your rod together, getting ready for that, because you guys are going Caribbean.
Going to the Bahamas.
Bahamas. Cool. Everybody be alert in the Bahamas.
Watch out.
On notice. So, cool. All right. As Hunter said, we're going to make a few stops. We're going to talk about wrapping a ferrule. We're going to show you how to spine a multi-piece blank. And just go over this stuff. Please ask your questions as you would, and I think we ought to get this going. Jay, let's hit that intro.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
And we're back. Always great to be back in the mud hole basement. All right, so for everybody filtering in, we're doing ferrules. We're making destination stops. We're going to be doing some giveaways. We're giving away CRB guide kits tonight. We're also going to be giving away...
we're going to do a spine finder and a blank extension tool combo pack.
Okay, cool. And CRB Elite Guide Set. That's the runner-up.
Okay.
And
grand prize?
For the big grand prize, we're doing the travel rod multi-option kit.
Perfect.
Which we have seen a lot of y'all jumping in there with the multi-option sale this past week. That's good. Hopefully you guys got mom a rod that, she's always wanted. Always dreamed of. Maybe something color, maybe some cool wraps, maybe I love you, mom, on that blank. Something like that. So anyway, we've got destinations, we got giveaways. Your questions will be answered as always. And where do you want to stop first? Let's go where you guys are going, because we'll talk about what to build for your trip.
So we're going to do, first stop is going to be the Caribbean kind of base. So we're going to do, if you got a family vacation to the Keys, Mexico, you're going to be fishing maybe if you can get away for a day or two from the family, or even take out the family on a guide trip.
Perfect.
Are we talking about a blanket you can use for flats fishing for bonefish?
Bonefish, maybe some mangrove snapper, maybe some permit, stuff like that. It's going to be one of those blanks that is a little bit moderate fast. So it's not too fast because, you might be pitching out a live shrimp. You might be pitching out a jig. And it's that light kind of power, You typically fish for bonefish or permit. You're not horsing them in. It's not one of those deals that you're winching them in. You're not flipping or pitching or something like that. So that blank for me, if I'm a fly guy, I'm taking an 8-weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you do? Native 8-weight?
Yep. If I want to do something that has a little bit more of a progressive action with the fly, not something that's so stiff and too fast, things like that, I'm going to go with the native blank. And of course, the 8-weight comes in cool colors.
It does.
And we also have the spinning option, though. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do for that spinning option?
Well, for the spinning option, we got two great options. The first one I would go with is the TFW 842.
Okay.
So this is your great, just all around, I'd say light bonefish.
Yep.
Maybe some smaller permit.
Yep.
Even up to, decent size, mid-sized permit, nothing
right.
crazy.
Yeah, not the deal like 30-pounder or something like that.
Even maybe some small tarpon, some baby tarpon.
Yeah, you get a lot of those little juvies back there, something like 5-10 pounds, something like that.
And then, so your second option for a spinning rod would be the TR 842. That's another one that's, it's probably a little bit, would you say, maybe heavier power?
Yeah, it's a little heavier power, and of course, on these that we're talking about, so this is the TFW 842. This is going to be a 3-piece blank, okay? So those 3 sections are going to come in, hold me there. That is going to be 29.5 inches. So I'm telling you, if you need to hide this under the minivan seat, if you need to stick this in a carry-on bag, this is the one I'm going to be taking to the Caribbean. If I'm going to the Keys, that's the one I'm taking. If we're going on a cruise ship, that's the one I'm taking. So that right there will pack down, that's going to get you in pretty much any carry-on that you can get on an airplane, hide it under a baby seat in that minivan. That's going to be the one you're going to want to do. So TFW 842. Now, the one thing that a lot of people always have questions about is how these travel blanks relate to the one-piece versions. Mm-hmm. Because obviously the TFW has a, travel rod for TR or travel freshwater, something like that. It has its own little acronym, but it was derived from the one-piece cousin, I guess you could say. So for those out there that know let's say the S842 out of the spinning blank, the S842 and the TFW 842 are related, okay? So that's, as you guys know, that by the MHX series, that's a 7-foot rod, 2 power, being 84 inches for the 842. Now, with the TR 842, that one is what?
That's going to be the SJ 842, correct?
And that is correct. That's probably one of the most popular blanks that we have, period.
It is. Second, probably behind like the MB 843, just your all-around. But yeah, I would probably lean more towards, personal opinion of course, the TR 842, just because I love that SJ so much.
Yeah.
But I would say all around, the TFW is probably your best all-around bet. Yeah,
absolutely. And I have built these and taken them places and stuff, and the TFW is great for, really small baits, maybe like a flats jig, or maybe just pitching a live shrimp, and that's going to take care of a lot of your flat species. If you're going on a boat and, if you run across barracuda and things like that, something that's going to pull a little harder, something that maybe you want to put like a size 4,000 reel on, spinning reel that is. You want to put a 4,000 reel on, that's going to be the one that's going to go the TR 842. Whereas, on the TFW 842, you're going to put a 1,000, a 1,500, or a 2,500,
right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, all right, so those are the recommendations. Now, let's talk about spining those.
That's a good question.
So, I have here, this is actually a 6-weight native in clear watercolor, I believe. And we've got the CRB spine finder. Now, for those that have a spine finder, you probably know what I'm about to say. For those that don't have it, this is a really, really great tool across the board if you want something for short multi-piecers. If you want something for a heavy, 9-foot blank, 7-foot blank, something like that. The inner diameter of these bearings can accommodate I can't remember the number offhand. So
A pull stick, pretty much.
yeah, we're looking at like 1 1/4 approximately. Don't hold me to that, but it's over an inch diameter in there. That is a lot of rod blanks. That covers a huge gamut of rod blanks for the spine finder. Now, you can see here we have one section of the aluminum track that we've got it mounted to, and of course we just have it here with the T-bolt. We can just kind of quick release, spin that wing nut, slide it out, pull it off. You know, however many sections you've got here. This does not have to be permanently mounted to this. You could certainly just grab this, bolt it down with a T-bolt, spin that wing nut off, get it off, put it back on the shelf, and you're ready to rock. So the spine finder, which we of course will be giving away tonight, is a great tool to have on the workbench for all kinds of things. So, all right, Nick, we're going to talk about spining this section, okay? Now, there's one thing that typically does not mix, and that's carbon/graphite and metal. All right, so the blank will be in the spine finder on metal bearings. We always recommend taping your blank off to where it's going to impact those bearings. You do not want to just stick a blank in there and go to wrenching on this thing while you're putting it against these metal bearings on here. It's just not recommended. We say, please don't do that, and that's just not how this thing operates. So I'm going to put this thing in here. I've got the little tape flag on here, and I already have it taped off. We're going to slide this bad boy in here, make sure we're lined up on the bearings, and from there, you will then roll it around. So add a little bit of flex to it, roll it, roll it, roll it, and you can feel it getting difficult, and then it comes around. So, and then, just as anything else, you can feel kind of that groove in there. You know, that is how you're going to determine the spine. Now, of course, I have the little flag on here. That helps everybody at home. If it was me, I would just spine it, and I would carry a China marker in my other hand, and then I would just mark it, just put a line on the top there. I don't need the flag, but for everybody watching at home, it certainly makes for a much easier deal. So, whoa, and that's what happens if it slips out of your hand. So anyway, my bad. So there, that's how you spine a multi-piece blank. Now, please do not be alarmed if you get this is your butt section of your fly rod blank. This has very, very little flex in it, okay? Everybody wants to know, do I spine all the sections together? Do I do it individually? What do I do about the butt section? Things like that. The way that I do it is, and I'll just show you right here, I take this section, we spine it. Mark it, put it down. I take the other section, spine it, mark it, put it down. Then what I do is I put all the sections back together, line them all up, and then I recheck it. That way, you know, if something is a little off, if something's out of whack a little, that's going to tell you, Adams, you did something wrong.
Right.
So please, with all of the multi-piece sections, don't overthink this, okay? It's just like spining a one piece, but now you just have 4 pieces. Do each one individually. Try not to get so caught up in this butt section because the butt section's got very, very little flex in it. So,
cool.
Yeah.
And so that goes for travel rods, fly rods, any multi-piece, you do the same process.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you know, whether it's a 2-piece, whether it's a 4-piece, you know, we have a 6-piece fly blank.
Right.
I'm going to do each individual one. I'm going to mark them, check them, then I put it all together and check it one more time. You want to get that question?
Yeah, so question is, does the spine finder have bearings? I have an identical one that I made and has no bearings. I would say it has bearings for it to spin a little bit easier, you know, inside the barrel piece itself. There's many different ways that you can spine a blank. Like Chris just showed, you can just simply do it, you know, by deflecting it on the table itself.
Yep.
That has no bearings. Still works the same way.
Yep.
This just allows it to work a little bit more freely without having to put, you know, a lot more pressure. Using the spine finder, especially on a longer one-piece blank, with those bearings, when it spins a little bit freer, it just allows you to, find that spine, I guess more accurately, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that piece about jumped out of my hand
you just
because it was very fluid in its motion. You're kind of eliminating all of the outside forces in friction that would kind of say like, oh, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe, the bearings do give it a little bit, kind of ease of motion there to try to get those things. But, honestly, you're not wrong if you made one. Again, sometimes I spine it on the table, sometimes I spine on the floor. It all depends on where I'm at, what my workshop has to offer. There's really not, a wrong way there. But we just like, the guys at CRB, they come up with cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
All these tools are just to make custom rod building easier for you guys. So.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Are we seeing the rest of Jerry's question there?
Yeah.
Are multi-piece rods more susceptible to high sticking breakage? I don't know if they're really more susceptible nowadays because the ferrule technology and the multi-piece technology is so good. Before, that was the big complaint, especially in the fly world. Everybody used to complain about like, oh gosh, this 4-piece rod feels like 4 individual sections that somebody duct taped together, and it really feels real hingy. Nowadays there's so much, slim ferrule technology. We have nano resins in some of this stuff. That is all going to make that rod not only feel one piece, but perform like a one piece.
Right.
And just like with anything, you start high sticking, man, it really doesn't matter what you got.
Exactly.
You can blow up pretty much anything from a glass rod to a high carbon blank. You start high sticking, but that will segue us into, as we go through the show, we're going to talk about wrapping ferrules. Even though a lot of these ferrules are reinforced, it's still kind of a standard practice and something that not only us, but many factory rods, OEMs and such like that, brands, are wrapping ferrules, giving that little bit extra strength at that ferrule. And, I'm not a big rod breaker, knock on wood, but, I think everybody has broken a one piece and might have also broken a multi-piece. It kind of, at that point, if you're going to break it, you're going to break it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a hot button topic, which, most high sticking is not the blank's fault. In my opinion, of course there are exceptions to that. There's some errors that do happen within the technology, and you got to think all these blanks are made on a manual by hand. So there is a human error, factor that could play into it. Yeah. But in the rods that I've broken, since I've been fishing, I would say probably
most of the time it's on him or it's on me.
Yeah, I would say all but maybe one.
Yeah.
Out of the maybe 4 or 5 that I've broken were actually the blank's fault. So.
Yep, exactly. You want to give something away?
Yeah, let's do that.
Why don't we give something away? All right, give us a few names. We're looking at, what are we doing? We're looking at 3 names. We're going to do 3rd place giveaway, and we're going to do a standard set of CRB guides, a performance set, and an elite set. Now, we call your name for a standard, a performance, elite. What you're going to be able to do is give us the color. So you're going to be able to pick polished or black, and then you're going to be able to choose, your rod length. Say, hey, I've got an 8-footer. I want it in black. Boom. We'll get you out what you want. So that's going to be color, and give us a rod length that you want there, and we'll do it. So 3rd place winner. How about I'll give you that one?
Oh, okay.
How about that one?
William Had it? H-A-D-T.
Sure.
I'm not sure if the T is silent or the D is silent. I don't know.
Yeah.
William Had it. H-A-D-T.
Perfect.
Sorry, William, if I messed that up. I'm sure I did.
So I passed it to you. Yeah. Cool. You get a William. That is for a CRB standard guide set. Slide into our DMs there. Tell us what color and length you want there. I'll take Alan Howarth for the performance set. And then we'll need an elite set coming in here. Up. Ooh, all right.
All right. Ron Bunton.
Ron Bunton is getting CRB Elite set. So guys, just let us know color, length of rod. You guys are ready to rock. So slide into our DMs there, and we'll get those out to you. I love giving stuff away.
Yeah.
That is me, for sure.
So, hit these 2 questions, then we'll move on to the next destination.
Let's do it. Jump in there.
So, Mark, when do you use ferrules, and when do you just put the rod pieces together? Okay, so most of the blanks, probably 99% of the blanks that you buy on the market today will already have built-in ferrules. So you're not going to have to buy ferrules separately to accommodate these blanks. So Chris has a 4-piece native rod up here. And what he's going to show is, see these 2 pieces simply just mate. There's a female and a male. They simply just mate together. You do not have to buy the ferrules separately.
And this is called a tip over butt.
Tip over butt. There you go.
Tip over butt section. Yep. Because there are multiple types of ferrules. Mm-hmm. So this would just be tip over butt style.
Yes.
That's it.
And of course, if you do happen to have, an old favorite rod that broke maybe, and you do want to have to repair it, you can buy ferrules separately, and you would need to measure. Let's say it broke right there. You need to measure the OD on both sides, and we sell brass ferrules, and they're measured in millimeters. So you would just find your accommodating size, and you could repair that rod. But if you do just happen to buy a blank, these ferrules are built in already.
Yep.
And it's just ready to put together.
Yeah, if you got a 2-piece rod blank, it's ready to rock. It might have a spigot ferrule, it might have a tip over butt ferrule, but if it was factory made as a 2-piece, as a multi-piece, the ferrule's there. So, Alan, what thread size is best to wrap the ferrule? Perfect. We were going to talk about that a little bit later. I'll address it right now. I like to match the thread throughout the rod blank. So, if I'm wrapping A, which is the smallest, if I'm wrapping A on a fly rod, okay, wrapping A for the guides, wrapping A for the trim bands, I'm wrapping A on the ferrules. So, the ferrules do have reinforcement in them, but again, we like to wrap ferrules to keep them it's a little insurance. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
Keep it from splitting at the end, and that's really what it is. So I carry the same thread throughout.
Yeah. All right, let's do one more, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
Sean, do you fill the hole in the male ferrule, and if so, how? All right, Sean, we need a close-up on this one, guys, real quick. So most of these sections that come from a blank factory will have a piece. It's either going to be like an EVA material, like a foam material, and it's already going to be, if you guys can focus on that, it might be a little hard to see, but this piece right here inside of the rod blank is actually what I'm talking about. And typically this comes from the factory that way. You do not have to install them yourself.
Yep.
If you need to, sometimes they are lost or not inside the rod blank, simply just get, a cheap piece of EVA foam, craft foam. Mm-hmm. There's tons of things you can use just to put that in there. And basically it's just a little bit of extra reinforcement, just like a ferrule wrap,
Okay.
It just adds a little bit of protection because that material at the blank end is, that's probably the weakest point in this rod blank or this section of rod blank. So it's just a little bit of reinforcement. But
yep, they come as EVA, sometimes they come as rubber. Mm-hmm. And in the factories, they've got, there'll be a cone, and then that cone gets wedged in and cut off flush.
Yeah, so it's only maybe, how long do you say that piece is in there? Maybe half an inch, quarter of an inch?
Yeah, it really just depends on the OD, or the inner diameter of that and the outer diameter of that plug. I mean, if you were to go and run a rod up the end of it and punch it out, which is actually harder than you think, mm-hmm. You're going to find that it's either an EVA or a rubber material that is actually in the shape of a cone because they just wedge it in there and cut it off.
Yep.
So, to be honest with you, I wouldn't worry about it too much. The female side of the ferrule is going to be the one that you're going to want to reinforce with thread wrap. I want to say that even, like for example, if you buy a Sage fly blank, Sage blanks do not come with plugs, mm-hmm. but factory built Sage rods comes with plugs. So for whatever reason, I have a few sage blanks there that I've acquired over the years and built and fished with, and they don't have plugs in them, and I haven't had a problem. But I have some factory ones that have plugs that I also have not had a problem with. So, yeah.
All right.
Where are we going?
We have a couple questions about ferrule wraps, and we will get to those towards the end of the show, guys. So just hold on tight for that.
Cool.
So, next destination. Family trip, maybe Carolinas, maybe like Myrtle Beach, maybe even like the western side of the Carolinas, maybe the mountains.
For me, we live in Florida. I don't need to go to the Carolinas beach.
Right.
I want to go to the mountains. So that's where I'm headed, and I'm taking a 5-weight.
Okay.
For sure. So taking a 5-weight, that is going to be a 9-foot, 5-weight, 4-piece fly blank. I can do anything in the Carolinas that I want.
Well, you guys, and some of the guys here, Guth, Taylor, you guys have went up to what part of Carolina is it?
So we run up to an area called Pisgah Forest. So it's probably an hour-ish southwest of Asheville.
Okay.
A couple hours east of Atlanta, a couple hours west of Charleston. We go 95-26 across like that. So it's the Pisgah National Forest. Do a little hiking, do a little fly fishing, and yeah, it's we're taking 4-weights, 5-weights, things like that. But if anybody ever asks, what's the one rod that I gotta go with? It's a 9-foot 5-weight.
Yep. And then if you want to maybe fish those same streams, but not necessarily with a fly rod, I'd probably go with like the TFW 721.
Okay, so a 6-footer.
So a 6-footer. It's
Okay.
a lot shorter because those streams are they're not really wide like rivers. They're narrow.
Yeah, they can get kind of overgrown and stuff.
Got overhanging trees. You want to be able to make accurate casts to those. Whether you got a little bit of flow or some current behind a break or something like that, you want to be able to either skip it under the tree or put it right into the current break wherever you want to do it.
Yep.
Of course, you're fishing light tackle anyways. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean you're going to be fishing 2 and 4 pound tests and things like that. Whether you're fishing like a road runner or something like that, the 721 that's a good one.
Yeah, and that one breaks down very, very small. It's compact.
Yeah, I mean, if it's 6 foot to begin with, and then you're going to divide that into 3 sections, yeah, you can take that pretty much anywhere, anytime, put it in a backpack, and you're ready to rock. Now, what if you're going to go fish somewhere like, what's up there? Lake Norman?
Yeah.
Norman's got a lot of great docks. I think is it a herring lake?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's a herring lake, but they got a lot of shoreline, got a lot of docks.
Lake Murray's in South Carolina.
Murray's in South Carolina. Yeah, we have. That's Lake Murray's a good place. So, what are you going to use there for bass, though?
Well, I would probably take. Of course, you're going to beef it up a little bit more. I would probably go with like a TR 843.
Okay.
So that's going to be able to throw. It's kind of like having an MB 843. You can do almost anything.
Yep.
You can throw a frog on it. You can throw a spinner bait. You can do a Texas rig, Carolina rig. I mean, any kind of top water, you can throw a spook on it if you wanted to,
Absolutely, and I'm a topwater guy.
Yeah, I know.
So if you're speaking my language, that's it. But the TR 843, that's the deal. I mean, it throws Senko, weightless Senko, and all those things. If you want to go casting, because so far we've only talked about fly and spinning.
Right.
But again, with a blank doesn't know. If you want to build the TR 843 spinning, or you want to build it casting, have at it.
Yep.
But that's going to give you a little bit more backbone. It's going to give you a little bit more range in the the weights that you can throw. It'll go from an 1/8 ounce and it'll beef your way up there where you can throw a larger topwater and a spinnerbait or something that TFW is not going to be able to handle.
Correct.
So all right, so we need to talk about guide placement.
Okay.
So we have a lot of people that talk about guide placement on a multi-piece rod.
Okay.
Is it any different?
A little bit, because dealing with these sections where your ferrules are going to meet and everything, you got to worry about where these guides. Do we have an example up here? Mm-hmm. Where these guides are actually going to what if we have one that meets right at the ferrule? What are we going to do? Well, you can actually incorporate your ferrule wrap into your guide wrap. So, and if this guide does happen to fall right on where those 2 sections meet, all we got to do is bump it up a little bit. So is that what you would recommend? Would you ever go, below, or would you go above?
Well, so depending on So here's an option too. This is in the second section from the butt wrap up. When the guide gets away from the ferrule a little bit. So there has to be, there starts to be a gray area as this guide gets towards the ferrule, right? So I always like to say, typically for a saltwater fly rod or a spinning rod or something like that, I'm going to do at maximum the width of my thumb for a ferrule wrap. If the guide gets inside of that at all, I'm going to incorporate it in.
Right.
For two reasons. One, because the ferrule wrap and the guide wrap can be combined, they'll do the same thing. Two, I think it looks silly, and don't fry me over this, guys, but I think it looks silly if, let's say, the guide is here, and then you wrap all the way, you got 2.5 inches of ferrule / guide wrap. Or if this gets too close down here, and then you've got, a guide, 1/8 of an inch of a gap, and then your ferrule wrap. So in reality, yes, guide placement is important. Don't get me wrong. But with this one over here that Hunter's got, if that guide was calling for it to be 1/4 of an inch up the rod blank, I'm just going to bump it down 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to put it, in that thumb width range here on that. Now, there are some, rules of when you wrap a ferrule, it should be, the width of the ferrule wrap should be the measurement in the diameter of the blank at the ferrule. Okay, whatever, right? If you want that, if you want it to be 1.5 times that, if you want it to be half of that, whatever. What I like to do is I like to settle on a length, whether it's a thumb width, whether it's your ring finger width, whatever, and then I carry that throughout the blank so that everything is aesthetically pleasing. I don't want a 3-inch ferrule wrap on the second section, and then a 1/2 inch ferrule wrap on that one, and then I'm going to do a 3/4 inch ferrule wrap on the tip. Like, if you're going to build it, you got to make it look good too.
Right.
And all of that is going to come together. So when you get some of these guide spacings, not everybody always takes into account ferrules. And of course, if you have an SJ842 that you love, that casts beautifully, that's perfect, and then you want the TR842, if you have to fudge the guide like 1/4 of an inch here or there to get the guide foot to slide up on the ferrule properly, do it. I don't like to bump a guide down off the ferrule. I would rather push it up onto the ferrule. That's just me. I don't know, but that's just where I'm at. So
yeah, and in theory, your performance is not going to be hurt, and if it is, it's minuscule.
Very.
Not notice it. So pretty much what we're doing is just aesthetically pleasing our minds to
a little bit.
A little bit. That's all it is.
Yeah, because we're building these not only for performance, but I like it to look good too.
Yeah, of course.
And sliding a guide 1/4 of an inch here or there to make sure that it lands properly on a ferrule is where you need it to be. Now, I don't, for example, Nick, I'll grab this one here. So for example, you can see where this guide is landing on the ferrule. Get that burnishing tool? Hand me that bad boy. So you can see the guide foot stops about here, okay? That guide foot stops approximately halfway through that wrap. I don't recommend taking that guide foot and sliding it all the way down and incorporating and only having the guide wrap be the entire ferrule wrap. I want some good quality ferrule wraps here before I jump up on the guide foot. That's just me. That's just me. So that's just how I like to have it built. I feel comfortable like that. It hasn't failed me in years and years and years. It also helps match that guide wrap down here. We're about as close as we could possibly be on those two ferrule wraps. I mean, that's within 1 or 2 wraps of each other. That's really how I like it to be, just because it looks good at that point, you know? So again, I don't want this bottom wrap to be 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and then this top one to be 1.5 inches or less or whatever. So again, it's me.
Personal preference.
That's it. That's it. You know where to find me if you want to complain. But come on, we try to do it.
Then,
Hit some questions.
All right, so Tom, do you compromise the sensitivity with a multi-piece rod versus one piece? With today's technology and the way they make blanks, like we talked about earlier, the technology has come a long, long way with ferrules and multi-piece rods in general. So I would say absolutely not. I don't think there's.
Yeah.
I mean, the ones that I fished recently, you know, some of your fly rods that we fished with my flats.
Yeah.
I can barely even tell, you know, that that's a multi-piece rod. It feels, it's crisp, it's really sensitive. I could not tell one difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we start having to cut a blank that's been broken and add metal ferrules to it,
yeah,
you're probably not going to suffer as much sensitivity as you are in action and power. It's going to change the blank overall, but I doubt very seriously that, you know, if I was going to take an SJ842 and the TR842 and we were going to go out and go bass fishing, I doubt very seriously, you know, that we're going to feel enough where it's going to be a hindrance. Otherwise, you know, if you're just going to be on vacation with your family and have no fishing rod at that point,
exactly.
I'd rather take the fishing rod. So.
Patrick, odd question. Do you wrap your tip tops? I've done it both ways and don't see any real difference. Well, as you can see, and this is your rod, correct?
Well, I didn't wrap this, no.
Okay.
Because I wrap my tip tops.
You do, okay.
Barely.
So,
Barely, just a little.
this one is actually not wrapped. And as you can see, I'm sure it's just probably put on with a little bit of tip top cement.
Yep.
And then we do have a
We do finish them.
We do have a little bit of finish just around, you know, it starts a little bit on the blank and then runs up onto the tip top edge.
Yep.
There's no thread there.
Yep.
And yes, I would agree, that works perfectly fine.
Yep.
Now, Chris, you do yours a little bit differently?
But not because it's structurally better or anything like that.
Aesthetically.
I just like I just put a little bit of thread out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has nothing to do with the fact that I think that tip top's going to stay on any better. No. I just do it because it carries it out, you know.
Matches the rest of the thread wraps a little bit.
Yeah. Now, if I'm doing, you know, like a red thread, you know, because I love that like candy apple red on like an Elite Pro or an Elite X blank, something like that that's really sharp, I'll carry the thread out there. But if I'm going to do like I used to and all my bass rods and everything, because, you know, I build them to fish with a black blank and a black thread and black guides, I don't put it on there.
Yeah.
You know, I merely do it for aesthetics and just to kind of carry it out. It kind of looks sharp, but I do put a little bit of finish that bridges on that.
Yep.
You know, I think it does a good job of, you know, kind of sealing that off, a little bit of extra, I don't know, a little extra holding power. Even though that CRB tip top cement is a very high temp. You remember back when we were tournament fishing, before we had that high temp stuff from CRB, you know, it'd be like 120 on the deck, and, you know, your tip top would, you know, you'd have an issue. So having the new stuff like that and then also adding that little extra is what I do. But if you don't do it, don't lose any sleep over it. So I'm not sure. Shane asked, does that only pertain to fly rods? What about telescopic? I'm not sure what that was directed at. It was probably something that I said probably in regards to ferrules, but keep in mind a telescopic rod is, you know, it's different throughout. I'm still, if you get a hold of a telescopic blank, I mean, we used to have them. We don't have them anymore. That is a whole different layup type deal. I'd probably still wrap the ferrule on a telescopic blank.
Yeah.
You know, I probably would, just to make sure to keep it, you know, from, you know, I hate to say to keep it from splitting, but there's really no other way to say it. You know, that's, if you're going to really damage a ferrule, it's because it's going to split from the end.
Right.
before you wrap it, and if you're, if you're just kind of, too much with it. But yeah, I would say that most telescopics that I've seen probably have a ferrule wrap on them, right?
I feel like most of them are finished. That whole bottom section is usually, it's been a long time since I've seen one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because in reality, you only have that one section that is telescopic, right? So typically it's, and especially in the bass world, the telescopic rods were, because you couldn't fit like a 7.6 in a rod box. So there's only like this much of the rod blank ahead of the handle section, right? And then when it broke down, it just shrunk the rod like 14, 16 inches. It wasn't like that where it broke was halfway up the rod blank. So yeah, like you're saying, they had the handle, they had maybe 12 or 14 inches of some threads, some decals, some finish, and then it pulled out and stopped. So that whole section was kind of finished anyway. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Daniel, is spining essential? I'm gonna do a very short answer on this, just because we could do an entire show.
You're gonna get some trouble with that one.
My short answer, and I'll let Chris, put his 2 cents into. Is spining essential? I'm gonna say no. It's not essential. Does it help the performance of your rod? I would say yes, absolutely it does. There's some guys that solely, build on the spine. There's some guys that solely build on the straightest axis of their blank. That's a tough topic, and you can probably read pages and pages on forums, and you could go on and on and on. But that's my answer to it. I'm gonna toss it over to you.
All right, so moving on, we're going to the north. The spining thing, in certain situations, I like to say that there's, I want to say in certain situations that there's no other way to do it. But hear me out on this one. That would be in a situation where, a heavy grouper rod. Like a meat stick, right? Like we're catching this fish perfectly, the rod's flexing from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and you got to keep the tip out of the water. It's flexing over the top that much. You're going to have to fight a grouper, and you're going to now have to fight the blank. A lot of those guys you see are the guys doing the acid wraps. They're doing that spiral wrap to help take some of that torque out. But remember, they're kind of spining it because that's where it wants to go, and it's creating that, that pull.
Right.
Do I think that spining is the end-all be-all for everything? Maybe not. But I do it. Even though when you and I are bass fishing, and we have seen hundreds of hours, unfortunately, of he and I bass fishing, making videos and taking pictures and doing stuff like that. We might be fishing an area and we're underhanding. We're skipping docks, we're skipping docks. Hey, we're not throwing it on its spine. That rod's not reacting on its spine, If I'm throwing, a really small swim bait in ultra clear water, right? And I'm throwing it on a casting rod. I'm casting it out, probably at this angle, which is probably not on the spine. And then I'm reeling the rod with the rod tip down. And then when a fish eats it, I reel it and I sweep into him. I'm not setting the hook on the spine. I'm not casting on the spine, but my rod is built on that. I do. I build on it, but there are so many circumstances where you're not perfectly fishing up and down 6 to 12, on top of that spine, but it is what it is. There's like Hunter said, there's tons of forums. We could go on and on and on about all this, and we can create big time arguments about it. I'm not going to create big time arguments about it. I build mine like that. I don't have any problems. That guy might build like that, and he might not have any problems. We're good. We're building rods. Everybody's happy, and we're enjoying what we're fishing with. That's cool. Take it for what it's worth. See what you do. I'm not telling you hell or high water here with that. So,
Exactly.
Cool.
All right. You want to do a couple more questions or move on? And I think we can probably integrate a couple of those questions into our next little demo.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Dave asked there, what if you're off when you spine a blank? I mean, Dave, honestly, man, if you're like 3 degrees off, I'm probably 3 to 10 degrees off all the time. You know, because when I spine a blank and then I mark it, you can be off. You can be off. It's all good. I can assure you that any rod that you've ever fished with in your whole life, before you started building custom rods, you probably had a ball. You probably caught a ton of fish. And then you started building rods. And you never fished with a rod that was built on the spine before you started building rods. Again, you were probably successful, probably had a ball. Probably didn't matter. So don't worry so much about it being right dead zero on it. I would get where you're at and get as close as you can. It's just like guide spacing. It's just like, you know, lining up guides. Not everybody can do it dead straight perfect, but you know, we can get better than a lot of other people, especially factory built rods. So cool. Where you want to go now?
Let's go to the north.
Okay, perfect.
So we're gonna do,
get out of that heat.
yeah, maybe let's go up to upstate New York, maybe even like a Michigan trip. You're on one of
Cool.
the Great Lakes, or
Where's
even
it?
just like, what do you think?
Oh, you got it over there.
Oh, the other way.
I thought I had lost that blank. Perfect.
Get this a little bit
Yeah, I'll
out
take
of
this
the
guy
way.
out of the way here. We'll get you front and center here.
So we're finally going to show you guys how to do a ferrule wrap. I'm going to show you how to start it. And you know, it's very similar.
We didn't do a giveaway.
Oh, okay.
Got to do a giveaway. Hey, as Hunter's getting set up here, string your guy up. We need to do the second place giveaway, which is going to be blank extension tool, which we're getting ready to use. Spine finder, which you saw, and a CRB Elite guide set. Let's get a winner picked here so we can move on to wrapping a ferrule.
I think it's up there.
What?
Right.
Oh, man. Yeah. I was thinking they were going to put it in like red or something, you know? Anyway, Jerry Bethard.
There it goes.
How about you? Oh, it is in red now. Jerry Bethard. How about that? Does that work for you?
Bethard, yeah.
Yeah. Jerry Bethard, we're doing blank extension tool, spine finder, CRB Elite guide set. And again, choose your color, choose spinning or casting. Is that okay, Nick? Is that what that says? Jerry Bethard, maybe? Perfect. Blank extension tool, spine finder, CRB Elite guide set. Pick your color, pick casting or spinning. Slide into our DMs there and we'll get it out to you. Awesome. Congrats.
Cool.
What you doing now?
So we have, what blank do we have here? This is a F908-4
Okay.
in the gloss white, which is very slick.
That's the one I'm taking to the Caribbean. We talked about that one.
So what I have here, I can get a little zoom into the special CRB tool. This is the blank extension tool. So what we can use it for, obviously I'm going to show you guys how to do a ferrule wrap a little bit easier, because you will notice obviously that you can't, you know, do a ferrule wrap because there's nothing to hold it there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we've done is,
Just like that.
what I've done is actually added a little bit of masking tape on here. I believe this is what, 1/4 inch masking tape.
Mm-hmm.
So what this is going to allow you to do, when this blank slides onto the extension tool, it's going to slide up past the masking tape and it's going to stop about right there. Now if we don't have this masking tape in here, it's actually going to have a little bit of wiggle to it. And when you go to wrap, it's kind of going to be moving around on you slightly. So that masking tape just basically adds, you know, it's a little bit of an arbor. It keeps this blank more stable.
Right.
And when you go to wrap, it's going to be a little bit tighter. Just makes it easier to wrap with.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, every blank has a little bit different taper, a little bit different inner diameter, and of course, the extension tool has a taper to it.
Yep.
But it's not going to match everything.
Mm-hmm.
So just as you would make an arbor for a real seat, if you're a tape guy, you're going to do that on the blank extension tool. That's what I would recommend.
Yep.
You know, it's not a 100% have to, but it makes a better kind of, it mates up a little bit better.
Yeah. And this also can be, I guess you'd say, chucked into the RDS dryer.
Yes, that's why that groove's in there.
That's
exactly.
why that groove is. So when you're done wrapping it, you know you can just pop this. Don't even have to take it off or anything.
Yep.
You can just pop this right into your CRB chuck, the rubber chuck, and boom, it's ready to go. You don't have to actually, put your ferrule wrap or anything, or this end of the ferrule into the rod dryer. It makes it easy, simple, clean.
Yeah, that was a huge part of that, because so many times you got a 9-foot fly blank. You've got a 9-footer and you don't have room for it. So there you go.
So what I've done here is simply put one side into your rod stand. I'm going to take our trusty rod bands here, our rod, what do you call those?
I just call them bands. Yeah.
Put those in, and you can see on this side over here, we can just zoom in on this area. This is going to allow us to move the end of the ferrule, the end of this blank section, towards, a little bit of the middle of our wrapper here. That way we can actually work with it easier. We're using this. This isn't the candy apple, is it? It's close.
It's very close, actually.
So we're going to use this red thread actually, so you guys can see it a little bit easier. I'm going to go actually over here. Make more sense, wouldn't it?
It would.
Now, when you go to start your wrap, this can be a little tricky. And some guys like to, go all the way down to the very, very end of the ferrule. Start your wrap all the way down here, which is perfectly fine. Some guys like to put it up just a little bit, which is what I like to do because it can be a little tricky when you start packing your threads. Super close to that ferrule edge, it'll start, falling off every time and then get a little frustrated. And that's one thing we don't want to have happen when we're building a rod. So I have started a little bit far away from the ferrule, and once I get around and secure my wrap a few times here, I'm just going to simply push it down to exactly where I want to start it at.
Yeah, this will be something that you'll dial in as you get used to wrapping the ferrule. I mean, like you said, some guys will wrap it right on the edge, and they're very, very good at it. I know the first time I had wrapped a ferrule, I'm kind of doing what you're doing, I backed it away a little bit, and the good thing is as you push the thread towards the edge of that ferrule, you're not going to lose any tension on that thread because the blank is not going to lose any taper in it. If anything, it might gain a little bit of taper. So you're actually kind of forcing that thread right down to the edge. And what would you say? Probably leave maybe 2 thread wrap widths away from the edge?
2 to 3, yeah. Whatever you're really comfortable with,
Yeah, because you don't want the finish to overlap off of the end of that ferrule. That's the last thing you want to have happen because you might, glue or finish one section to the very next section. So you don't want to do that, and there's really no need to do that. So leave 2 or 3 thread widths away from the end of the ferrule. And of course, Cameron's got a question here. How long of a ferrule wrap do you recommend? Cameron, as I had mentioned before, I'm probably going to do something about the width of my thumb. And whatever you choose, carry it throughout the rod blank. There's a lot of, you hear some guys talk about, oh, it needs to be, 1.5 times the diameter of the blank at the ferrule, things like that. None of that's wrong. It's just I like to carry it that same width throughout the blank, just for the way it looks, for nothing else.
And you'll notice too, as I am spinning this, I got my right hand on the blank, my left hand is just on the extension tool. If we had not used that arbor there, sometimes it will tend to spin a little bit too.
Yep.
So if you do have it tight, you can actually utilize the extension tool in your left hand to spin this through. And we're getting pretty close there. I'll just use your trick for the thumb. I'll go a little bit more. What do you think? Pretty close to where you're at?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll tie it off.
Yep. Patrick was asking about a good tip for wrapping close to the end of the ferrule, keeping a clear coat from running on the inside of the blank. As Hunter showed there, and as I had mentioned, you can get not so close to the end of the ferrule, and because you're going to be pushing that thread towards technically a thicker section of the blank, even though it's, 1/4 of an inch, you're not going to lose really any tension. So you can slide that thread down and that'll really help. I mean, in reality too, if you're not wrapping a guide on that ferrule, there's really no reason why you can't end your thread wrap at the edge of the ferrule. So you could start, up towards the tip and wrap towards the end of the ferrule if you're not wrapping on a guide. So Patrick, I would play with it a little bit. You know, just based on some blanks are easier to do because they have a little bit larger diameter. But if you're not wrapping a guide, you can honestly wrap towards the ferrule or away from the ferrule. And as Hunter showed there, I would also go around the blank twice when starting your thread wrap. For me, that just, you know, kind of gives me a little bit more of a secure base to start, especially when you're that close to the edge of a ferrule. That can be a little, you know, not dicey or anything, but it can be tougher than just wrapping, you know, a regular spot there without being on the edge. So.
All right, so finished product. Might have one or two little gaps in there, but not too bad for a quick wrap. I'd say our length is pretty good there. Not too long, not too short. Right at about a thumb's length.
Yeah.
And that's all there is to it.
Looks good for me. The red and white looks pretty good.
It does.
I know Jay was complaining about, you know, the red and the blue earlier. I don't know. You know, maybe he's not like a Braves fan, you know?
No.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So that red, if anybody was wondering, is 337 cranberry.
Ooh,
There you go.
that's nice, for sure.
And I'm sure that is in a color fast. If you did do a nylon, it
Oh, that's a nylon.
is it?
That is a nylon. Yeah. See,
Oh,
it's
yeah, it
like
is.
kind of shiny. Yeah,
So that would turn a deep red.
that would.
If
It would
you
be
didn't use
nice.
Any color preserver, yeah.
Yeah. Color preserver. Come on.
Yeah, no, we don't do that.
You want to answer Dave's question? That sounds pretty cool.
Dave, yeah.
I mean, I haven't done it, but
I've seen it. Okay, so Dave, this is an experience question right here. For a travel rod, do you recommend building two separate handles for fly and spinning, or do a single flippable handle for a combo fly spinning? Yes, I've seen the combo, the flippable handle, super cool, very, very neat.
Yep.
You know, it's tough, you know, but it's definitely achievable.
it takes a little, you know, like pre-planning, right?
It does, definitely. And I would, either one are going to be, you know, kind of tough to do. I would probably, the flippable one is, I've seen it done several times. It's very, very cool. Allows you to be versatile, you know, if you are fishing that stream up in the, you know, Carolinas and then you happen to find a pond or, you know, even one of the lakes you go to, you can put your spinning rod on or spinning reel on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I would go. And I'm sure there's stuff that you can find on some of the forums of guys, you know, pictures of those rods being made and get some cool ideas out of that. So I'd go for that, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would think too, you could do one spinning and casting depending on which rod blank you chose, especially if you did, you know, like a high frame guide set where it was like a fast choke, you know, where you just did like 3 kind of quick transition guides down to those like size 5 or size 6 runners, because whatever section that is, you could swap that section out, just that one section, and go to, you know, casting.
Yeah.
You know, you could put 1 or 2 like casting strippers, and then you would have your runners all the way out. Be good. Yeah. Hey, it's a reason to build custom, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's do, you going to do the grand prize now?
I'm going to answer this question. What is the best way to align the guides when you put a multi-piece rod together?
Okay.
So for me, since I have spined each individual section, I have a mark on each individual section. And typically, if you're building one section at a time, as long as you have each section's guides aligned, you're going to be able to align those guides to the next section's guides. And as long as those are straight, then you're going to be able to line them all up. If I was going to worry about any guides being off, worry about each one that's on each individual section. Because typically, you know, like for this fly blank, we don't need to zoom here. You know, for this fly blank, you got 2 guides here. The next section, you got 3. And the last section, you have 4 or 5, depending on which one. So make sure these 2 are lined up. Make sure those 3 on that section are lined up. And then make sure those last 4 or 5 are lined up. And then that way you can boom, 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 put them all together, look down and go, yeah, hey, we're ready to rock. You know? So that's, I would worry about each individual section at a time.
Some rod manufacturers use like the China marks, the little dots on each ferrule.
Yeah, got alignments.
Are you use those before? Fan, not a fan?
I think they're pretty cool. You know, I don't do it on my build. but I have seen them on, on an Orvis or a Reddington or a factory-built fly rod. Yeah, I mean, they can certainly be cool. I feel pretty good in going like that and doing it. So, all right, give it away. You can read that name.
I got that one. Grand prize winner. So this is for the travel rod, multi-option rod kit.
This is a good one.
Ron Buffington.
Cool.
Grand prize winner, Ron Buffington. I like that name. Nice name.
Yeah, fantastic. Easy to say. Ron, congratulations. Travel rod, multi-option kit. Go in there, pick your options, send us a screenshot, or just slide into the DMs there. We'll help you pick what you need. If you've got any questions, either he or I will be happy to jump in there. And, if you're going somewhere and you don't really know kind of what you want to do, you're good. So give me what are the 2 rod blanks you're carrying up north? We didn't talk about that, did we?
I would probably, you know what I would do? I would build a TR 843.
Okay. And that can be spinning or casting.
Well, I would probably, this is what I would do. I would probably do a TR 842.
Okay.
And I'd probably do that. You could do it both. I would probably lean towards more spinning. Because you go up north, a lot of guys up there, it's primarily smallmouth. There is largemouth fishing, of course.
Oh, for sure.
But smallmouth is huge, especially in the Great Lakes area. I would go with a TR 842, build it spinning. And the TFW 842, you could also do spinning.
Yeah, that's a great option because, you've already built one of those to go to the Caribbean. So you got your TFW 842. Maybe, I know the guys up there love to catch the perch. Mm-hmm. Maybe some light walleye, things like that. Especially for some table fare, like the perch game. Whew.
And walleye too.
Absolutely.
So good.
So yeah, both of those blanks, the TR 842 and the TFW 842, they're going to be 7-footers. Obviously, they're going to be 3-piecers, and you can pretty much fish for anything you want up there with those. Yep. So if you're fishing for fun or fishing for dinner, those are good. Those are good. Cool. Well, man, I'll tell you what. About an hour in.
That was good.
How you feel about that? Good?
That was a good show.
Any other questions? We did some giveaways. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Did guide placement on a multi-piece. We did spining a travel rod multi-piece. We did wrapping a ferrule. Tell you what, that's about right.
Yeah.
That's
Hopefully
what you guys
got some good info if you are taking a family vacation or a trip soon. Maybe you can sneak away for an afternoon or so from the family, get a little fishing in with your travel rod or your fly rod.
Oh, I got one last thing.
What you got?
All right, so something to keep in mind when you're going to be packing these. So I've got a blank here. Let me put a little guy on this. Kind of spot me here, bub.
Yep. Let's do. Can I take this one off too? There you go.
Cool.
That.
All right. So, although this is not a travel blank, we've got a CRB guide set on here. All right. Obviously, we put a bunch of work into this deal. We want to protect it. Okay? So, here at Mudhole, we've got cases, we got rod tubes. You can certainly build your own rod tube. We got rod socks here. We've got little travel sleeves. We've got all that stuff. And for those, if you're a rod builder, you're kind of a DIY guy or gal anyway, make sure not to forget you need to measure your guide height, okay? Because this being, spinning rod, size 20 on here, we got to make sure you are at about 2 3/8 of an inch from the bottom of this rod blank to the top of that guide, which means you're probably going to have to go to like a 3-inch diameter tube. Do not forget that. That can be something that you're like, oh yeah, I just need to get a tube, I need to get this, I need to get that. Obviously for a fly rod blank, it's going to be different because as you can see here, there's a considerable difference in height, okay? And even your casting rod will be less than this because this is a size 16. I haven't put a size 16 on a casting rod in a long time. So the spinning rod is the one that's going to get you if you're not paying attention. So just make sure, mock your rod up, and if you've got to order one, put your trim or put your guide bands on there. Use that guide tubing, and then go ahead and measure your stuff out. give you a little bit of leeway, because remember, there's other pieces and parts that got to go down in this rod tube. Give you a little leeway, buy that 3-inch diameter tube, and then no matter where you've got to put this, if you got to carry it on an airplane, if you got to put it under the back seat of the minivan, all of that stuff, it's going to be safe inside of that rod tube, and you'll be able to tote this thing pretty much all over the world, wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
Just, that's a quick little tip there I didn't want to forget. So, what do you think about that?
That covered it.
All right. Bing. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, I want to say, got to wish everybody happy travels.
Absolutely.
For their summer vacation. You're going somewhere. I'm going somewhere. We're going to have a ball.
Absolutely.
It's going to be fantastic. All right. Well, thank you guys very much, guys and girls, rod builders out there across the land. Thank you for watching Mudhole Live from the basement here. Congratulations to the winners. Slide in our DMs there. Tell us which pieces and parts you want. Everybody that won, thank you so much for liking and sharing. What you got?
Till next time.
You got anything else?
About a month away.
Probably about 4 weeks away. We got some things in the works. Some cool, fun stuff we're going to be doing here. And as always, that's Hunter McCamey. I'm Chris Adams. Thank you very much for watching Facebook Live here
See you next time.
at Mudhole. Take care.